Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to WSLR LP 96.5 FM Sarasota and WBPV LP 100.1 Bradenton. And you're listening to SynthWorld. I am your host, DJ Nomad, and I am thrilled to be joined here by Synthwave, Chillsynth, kind of glitch wave artist, Andrew, aka Korizon. Korizon, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited. Very excited. So thanks for having me.
Super excited to have you here. Been wanting to chat with you for a while. So I do want to just lay the groundwork a little bit for our listeners, just to get to know you a little bit. So let's just start, at the base here. Where are you from, and where are you currently living now?
So right now I'm from Chicago, the Chicago area, and I'm still there. Occasionally I'll be bouncing down to Kansas City though, that area for school, but mainly residing here in the Chicago area. So yeah.
Very cool. So you're a student at the moment?
Yes, yeah. So trying
Cool.
to balance that with the music obsession, but it's working out.
That's awesome. I'm sure you'll find a way. I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
What are you studying right now?
Civil engineering, so it might be a little over my head, but where I'm making it work so far. So
That's awesome. So I didn't even think to ask about it, but how would you say, I've only been to Chicago once or twice, maybe. How would you say the synthwave scene is there, if you will?
I mean, I'm not super like I guess involved yet with kind of the scene here as much. I'm more I know more of the people like online and whatnot. But from the people I know, there's not really a whole lot going on here. I have my buddy Heister who's in the area, and I think John Mint is in Chicago too, but other than that, I don't know a whole lot of other people in the scene here.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have to get you meeting some new people, man.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, and we're
Yeah.
gonna try to help with that for sure. So, kind of coming back to your beginnings here in music, I want to ask you: do you recall your first true experience connecting with music in like a deep way, and then beyond that, do you remember maybe what really piqued your interest in producing?
I don't remember like an exact moment per se, but I definitely remember like when I was in middle school, I was like I was on YouTube and I like randomly found like the Monster Cat channel, and I was just obsessed with all the like EDM and stuff coming off that label for like 4 or so years. And then I while I was in middle school, I was like, this would be so cool to make. So I started like tinkering with GarageBand in like tech class or whatever.
Mhm.
And it eventually led here. But once I got in like the high school and older than that, I started exploring more avenues. Like I think when I was in high school, I discovered the EG channel. And I heard like Resonance for the first time. And I was just blown away. I found it in like some random Vine compilation, and I was like, I was searching for like the whole day trying to find that song, and I eventually found it. And then I heard Hotel Pools after that, and I was amazed by it. And because I started making like ambient music or whatever, and then I was like, I want to try and make this. So, but yeah, and just from there, I've just been discovering loads and loads of other kind of niches within electronic.
Yeah, yeah, you came into it at a really good time, just like kind of all of us. And then
Yeah,
you picked the roots with GarageBand. Oh man, that's so awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not using that anymore, but that's the very first song I made, I think was in like 2018 or so, and it was really bad. I have since taken it down from my SoundCloud, but it was on GarageBand, so
You got to
yeah.
start somewhere. So that actually leads me to a good question. I always try to keep the questions about hardware and software a little bit limited
Yeah.
because I know those conversations go for a really long time. But
Yeah.
what DAW are you using right now?
So I use FL Studio. I've pretty
Nice.
much been using FL Studio since the start, other than that like little GarageBand era. So yeah, I know a lot of people tell me like try Ableton, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I will, but I right at the moment I've just never really felt the need to switch, so I'm still using FL. So
Well, and
yeah.
I will say this, it shows how far FL has really come because
Yeah.
if you're able to do what you're producing through FL Studios, I mean, that is a
Yeah,
testament
for
to
sure.
its versatility. Um,
Yeah. It's a lot more versatile than I think people give it credit for. Um, yeah.
After the surprise revelation that Korizon uses FL Studios for his production, we discussed some of his other varied creative outlets.
So I want to ask you as well, do you have, I mean, just hearing your music and stuff, it feels like you must have other creative outlets. Do you do other things creatively?
I'm not super like intense about many other creative avenues. I do like to draw sometimes. I did a cover art for Basement Love's alias, his other alias, Tiny Little Knives, a while back, and I've been working on a music video for Sorcery, if you know him, who I definitely owe him that by now. It's been taking me a while, but yeah, so I'll do a little graphic art type stuff sometimes, and other than that, sometimes I'll do like film photography, but I'm not super into it. It's kind of steep. It's like a steep price kind of thing. So I just have I don't think I have it here. I have just one of those little 70s like quick ones that's cheap to get film for. So
Oh,
yeah.
very cool. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that if you could hear my cat bruising
Oh
the.
no, you're all good. I couldn't hear it. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay, good, good. Well, that's awesome, man. I figured that was the case, and to hear you do a little bit of graphic design or digital art, photography,
Yeah.
video.
I I'm
Mhm.
not very good at it. But I do like it's sometimes it's easier to just like get for me to like get ideas down or whatever. I think actually when we did the Datafire cover art, I was just like drawing random stuff, like putting it down on this page, and then I had it as like the like template or whatever in the SoundCloud. And then when we started doing the album, Andrew over at Stratford like made it into the real thing. It was really cool to see come to fruition like that.
Come to life,
So
huh?
yeah.
So we kind of touched on a little bit of your intro to, synthwave, chillsynth, all of that stuff.
Hmm.
So to move from there, I want to ask you, how has your reception been so far online from the rest of the community? And then I also just want to get a quick take on where Korizon came from.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll start with where Korizon came from. That goes back to the middle school days I was telling you about, where I was super into the Monster Cat EDM stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying to think of like what like a really sick name would be, and I thought of like the name Horizon was originally what my name was, and then like if after I had released like one song or whatever, I was like, wait a minute. Like there's like seven other people who have that name. So I just tacked on the K because that's the letter my last name starts with instead of the H, and I guess I've stuck with it ever since. And then remind me what that first question was.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just wanted to see like how's your reception been so far? I mean,
Oh yeah.
as positive as I'm guessing it probably has been.
Yeah, for sure. It took me a while to kind of break into the scene, because I have kind of a weirder sound than I think a lot of other people in this niche kind of have, um, or like less, more off the beaten path. But once when I see people connecting with the stuff, it's like, wow, this is kind of crazy to hear that like people actually like it. And especially once I know a lot more people liked that first album Melt than I was expecting, and same with Datafire, so it was really cool to see. So
Yeah, Melt is also just a really solid album as well.
After rounding out his character with the origins of his name Korizon, we move on to his current and past influences in the chill synth scene.
So I want to talk a little bit, just if you can, just touch on some core influences from you. If you can think of like handful, doesn't have to be synthwave artists, but artists that really you think shaped your sound.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, there's a lot lately that have been changing my sound a lot, that are in music I haven't quite released yet. Um, Artists like One O Tricks Point Never has been a humongous influence to me lately. Bon Iver and some of the more like kind of some more abstract type music, Porter Robinson. I would say when I was doing Datafire, some of the biggest influences to me were musicians like Nightwind or Nightwind. I'm not sure if it's Wind or Wind. I'm pretty sure it's Wind. He was a huge influence to me on that one.
Mhm.
The artist Fuji as well was a big influence. I was very influenced a lot by kind of the sound of Vaporwave and how it was very kind of like very lo-fi sounding and kind of destroyed. But I really thought it would be cool to hear that in kind of a more synthy context, even though there's definitely synthier songs out there. Yeah, when I was doing Melt, I was very influenced by like M83. Oh, Torima. Torima was the biggest influence, and Neon Indian for sure for the for Datafire. I was really influenced by how just kind of those first albums by them, Causers of This by Torimo and Psychic Chasms by Neon Indian. Those albums just sounded so kind of like fried and like punchy, and I was really inspired to try and make a more like instrumental rendition of something similar to that.
So let's dive into your most recent releases,
Yeah, for sure.
and we'll start with Datafire. For me, all-time favorite kind of chill synth, glitchwave, synthwave album, and just so awesome. I love
Thank you, man.
concept albums, yeah, and concept artists, and it feels like you really committed to that theme, if you will, with this album. So I mean, you talked about earlier about your sound changing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that album is like kind of the solidifying of the Korizon sound, and will there be a Data Water, or are we looking at, another evolution maybe?
Yeah, I would say when I released that album, I was really happy with because I felt like I really achieved like a sound that felt unique to me. So I would say that was definitely a moment where I was like, this is my sound, kind of. And yeah.
After discussing his iconic sophomore album, Datafire, we move on to discuss future changes to his sound.
I've always been someone who's kind of chasing after new sounds and stuff, so I don't want to promise we'll get another Datafire or anything like that. Because I've been working on a third album, which I would definitely say is definitely a step in a completely different direction. I guess if I were to describe it in one word, it's like MIDI EDM fusion with like touches of ambient and like pop in there. So it's definitely some different stuff, but I'm gonna try and do an EP in between then, because it's taking a long time. That's very similar to Datafire, and I think as time goes on, I'll always come back to that sound here and there, because every time I'll hear like some of those lo-fi up-tempo type stuff, similar to Datafire, I always get really inspired to come back to that sound. So I think even though like I'm going in different directions kind of now, I think I'll always come back to it here and there for sure. So maybe not as a full-length album, but maybe, you never know, I guess. So
Well, it's good to hear. At least that part of your sound is not disappearing completely.
yeah.
That's great to hear. It definitely leads me into your most recent release, which is Mapping Infinity.
Oh yeah.
An amalgamation, it sounds like, of unreleased tracks. A lot of ambient stuff, just out there, spacey. I mean, it feels like going through space on some of it. So, yeah, I mean, silky smooth arps. You're moving from one constellation to the next. I mean, just really fun stuff. So, I mean, is that kind of the antidote to Datafire's, craziness, if you will, the yin to Antifire to Datafire's yang?
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good way to put it. And thanks for the kind words, by the way. Yeah, because those tracks I was making at the same time as Datafire, I would kind of alternate between making those really intense lo-fi ones, and then I would just randomly be hearing some ambient stuff and then get inspired to write something more spacey. And I remember when I was writing those, I was like really inspired by this idea of just like being like just out in space, kind of just drifting or something, like as if you were like on one of the Voyager spacecrafts or something, just going past all this stuff no one else is ever going to see. But then the kind of uncertainty of maybe knowing you'll never actually return to Earth or something like that. And it kind of instilled this like weird sense into a lot of those songs that was like not quite as happy, but like I don't know, this probably sounds kind of pretentious, but yeah, I would say that was kind of definitely the yin to the yang for Datafire for sure. Yeah. I'm very spontaneous with my releasing, so I like a lot of the songs from Datafire I was just like randomly like let's put it on SoundCloud out of nowhere. And it kind of
If I
happened
made
with
a
this
song like
too.
you made, like any of those songs, I would be losing my mind. I would be
Oh man.
to everybody. So I mean, because I remember, I think it was either Info Dump or Reality Bends, or Blends. I think it's Blends, right?
Benz, yeah.
Or is it Bends? God,
Yeah. No,
it's
it's all
one of those
good.
two tracks I heard first where I was
I,
just blown away. Like, whoa.
Thank you, man. I really that really means a lot to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it was awesome. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But
sure.
I do want to touch on, you're coming up in the chill synth synthwave, vaporwave, glitchy wave, every wave scene. You came up really at the perfect, right as it is starting to hit its stride. So,
Yeah.
did you notice that, I guess, if you will, as you were starting to make this music? And then how have you seen it kind of change and evolve as as you've been a part of it?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Because I think I've been active in the scene kind of since 2019, I think. Or somewhere around there. And yeah, it's definitely changing. I've noticed like a lot of the because I remember listening to like all those big artists on EG back in the day. And I feel like it's really like you said, grown a lot. And the I would say the genre is definitely evolving too. I keep hearing like people with projects that are sounding like they still like you definitely I would call them Chillsynth, but they're sounding like they're going in different directions and stuff, which is really cool to hear.
I want to come back to you one more time here. Give our listeners a chance to figure out where to find you, on the social media area platforms, as well as like your music in general. Where can they get more Korizon?
I'm somewhat active on Instagram, so I would say that for like updates and stuff, that's probably the place to be checking. I'm in those Discord servers too, like all the ones there. So if you ever want to reach out, I'm on there. And yeah, I guess just stay tuned. I've got a lot of things in the cooker right now. So yeah, some
Yeah,
different
so
stuff, some similar stuff. So lots of stuff going on. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear it. So can our listeners expect at least a Korizon release before the end of the year?
Yeah, there should be for sure at least one single coming out from the third album. And I'm not sure about an EP yet, but I'm trying to maybe get something similar to Data Fire going on with the more kind of up tempo, kind of that sort of sound going. So I'm thinking either late 2024 or early 2025 for that. So yeah, so stay definitely keep your ears peeled, I guess.
Well, I definitely will. I'll keep our listeners up to date on any releases you have, and when that next album comes out next year, we'll have to have you on again to keep get us updated on where Korizon has moved to, where
Yeah.
you've come to now.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. I've always actually wanted to do like an interview. I feel like it's fun to do. So yeah.
Oh man, I mean it's great to dive into all of this with you and let our listeners hear about an artist like yourself and humanize that. But
Yeah, yeah.
on some level, it's just so fun to nerd out with someone
Oh,
about
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
loves music too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like at least in my experience, it's rare to find someone who's like into like the same exact like kind of niches and electronic and stuff. Like so yeah, it's all I love nerding out about music. So
yeah, because even within synthwave or this little area of electronic music that I try to show off, there's little pockets and nooks and crannies.
right.
It's
Yeah.
just so diverse. It's really amazing. So anyway, I
Yeah.
want to thank you for your time. We got to wrap it up here, but it's been so great chatting with you and
Yeah.
just getting the
Same
chance.
to you, man. It was great for sure.
Yeah. So just any final parting words for our listeners before you go?
Uh Shoot, I didn't think about that. I guess thanks for listening if you listened through the whole thing. So yeah, kind of a
Awesome.
lame way to end it, but
No, that's perfect. We appreciate you listening. I certainly appreciate everybody listening. Again, you're listening to SynthWorld on WSLR LP 96.5 FM Sarasota and WBPV 100.1 FM Bradenton. It was just great chatting with you. That was Chillsynth, Synthwave, Glitchwave, Vaporwave, every kind of wave artist, and maybe potentially some more ambient style stuff in the future. Artist Korizon. Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
thanks for having me, man.
All right, until next time, take care.